greatest interviewer of all time, Dan Allen Gaming. If there's one podcast you want to hear this year, it's Dan Allen Gaming.
Dan, we've got a job to do.
Mr. Allen, I've been waiting for you, Mr. Dan Allen. Anyone has heard of the likes of you, especially your YouTube channel. It's amazingly entertaining. Good job.
This is Geralt of Rivia, and you're watching Dan Allen Gaming. Yeah.
This is Agent 47. Subscribe to Dan Allen Gaming. He's a great guy.
I always knew we were destined for something great to happen. A lot of people want to change their cards, not me. I like the hand we've been dealt.
I'm gonna come find you, little man thing.
Dan, I knew you'd love me. Come on now, just a little taste.
Dan Allen Gaming. He's a lovely boy.
Super Dan, you number one. Woohoo!
This is Colt calling out to Dan the Animal Allen. I'm gonna break this fucking loop, or I'm gonna break your neck.
You're watching Dan Allen Gaming, and you're going to regret it.
Dan, you and I are gonna take back the universe for humanity.
We're having a problem with Metal Gear, and I need your help. So contact me by codec, damn it.
Dan Allen, you and I going dark now.
Are you being cheeky, Dan?
I'd like to keep this for close encounters.
Tune into Dan Allen Gaming, or else I'm coming after you. You're fucking down.
I've been interviewed by Dan Allen of Dan Allen Gaming. Not to be mistaken for Van Allen. You know the belts? No, not the same guy. Not even related. Okay, Jackie out.
All the best to you. Just don't cross me.
Dan Allen Gaming, you have got to be one of the best things to come out of Australia. Did you know that? You and me, we would have been unstoppable. Anyways, outlaws for life, partner.
Your face, your ass, what's the difference?
It's okay, Dan. I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
But you shouldn't have done that. It fucking hurts!
Let's find out if Dan Allen Gaming really is the best fucking show in town.
Dan, you eat babies. Everybody knows that.
Young brother, hey.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you all good, man.
Kind of looking good? Sweet.
You can hear me all good? We are live, by the way, brother, just so you know.
Oh, hello, people. Can they hear me? Is the audio muted at all, or no?
No, we're all good.
Okay.
I like to just throw that on my guests that we're live. Just oh, man. How are you? Great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you too, man. Appreciate you having me. I have seen a few of your stuff, and yeah, really good stuff. Excited to be here and to talk about whatever it is we're here to talk about.
Man, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of a year, hasn't it? Not just for yourself, but a bit of the gaming industry. I mean, how many delays have we had, brother, this year?
Far too many. I mean, Elden Ring stands almost uncontested at this point, except for maybe like God of War Ragnarok and maybe Callisto Protocol's looking pretty good. I think that's still coming out this year. So there's still a few gems, but man, yeah, everything. 2022 has been delayed to 2023 is basically what happened.
Hey, can we get into that backdrop just for a second? I'm seeing Ellie from The Last of Us. I'm seeing Millennia, Elden Ring. Is that Mega Man? We've got
right there. That's Metal Gear Rex with a very fancy hat. Goomba just riding that Rex for some reason. With the Star Wars, I think that this is from the sequel trilogy. I got it like when I went to what was it, the Star Wars Disney resort thing here in California. We got Punish Venom Snake, BB, my boy BB, or Gal, Louie, what was the female name? I forget that they gave the baby, but yeah. We got Ellie, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Eva 01. This is from Watch Dogs. Helmets, that's Shepard. That's Fallout 76. Melania, 2 Melanias. You got to represent the best girl.
How did you go with that boss fight, by the way?
With what?
How did you go with that boss fight?
Oh man. So when I played Elden Ring, I wanted to go through as many boss battles without using the mimic summon as possible. That's the only one where I'm like, all right, I need to like finish this game. And maybe next playthrough I'll do it for real, but for right now, I need to invoke my mimic and just have him help me out a little bit. And I did manage to beat her much more easily with that. But I do hope to beat her one-on-one when I get to her in my current playthrough.
You didn't get some help from Let Me Solo Her? You heard of that guy?
No, man. That's the dream, isn't it? To get a visit from the legend himself. But maybe one day.
I think he crossed 2,000. Whatever you call it, 2,000
kills of Millennia.
Yeah.
And he got sent like this sword from the folks at Bandai Namco with a message that says, "Hey, we appreciate just your dedication to your mission and everything." Just became this huge meme. It's just awesome. I love the wholesomeness of Elden Ring and like the community surrounding it.
Kisma here says Stray game of the year for me. I'm curious, Yong, what your game of the year is if it's not Elden Ring, or let's say top 3, because mine's Elden Ring.
Yeah, I'll have to wait until I play God of War Ragnarok, because the first game 2018 is one of my favorite games of all time. Period.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how much Ragnarok elevates the gameplay, the narrative, the set pieces, and all these things, and how it all comes together. So maybe there's good competition there. That game has impressed before, or that series has impressed before, and it may very well do it again.
Before you go on, I heard the Berserker Stag's a really terrible voice actor, whoever that is. But go on.
Oh yeah, man, I've heard in the rumor mills. And I listened to some clips, and I'm like, this guy, fire him and never allow him to work in the VO industry again. So let's get that campaign going, folks. I'm excited to actually like be a part of it and to get to kill myself a bunch of times, and I suppose through the playthrough. But yeah, that's one that I'm like, that maybe will be the biggest threat that Elden Ring has to its crown as a game of the year of 2022. But right now it's looking pretty solid, Elden Ring. It's just that game accomplishes so much. And it's blown me away on a level that like I feel like Ocarina of Time did when I was a kid. I feel like this is my adult's Ocarina of Time. What Ocarina of Time was to my childhood is what Elden Ring was to my adulthood, in that sense of like awe and just constantly wondering how this game is possible, that there's so much content, how everything is so just so much enemy variety and so many cool things to find. It's insane the amount of work and content that they put in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And what are you looking forward to coming out later this year besides God of War? Because I'm really keen on Callisto Protocol. I think that's
the one.
It's going back to those Dead Space sort of feelings. Glenn Schofield, who worked on it, who created it. I just feel like that's looking really good. Great cast as well.
Yeah, and I mean that last gameplay demo we saw, we got a sneak peek of some of the powers you have. You can like force, push, and pull or something, and some of the deaths are so freaking gruesome. These days, because I've seen so many different types of deaths in gaming, not many of them make me go, "Oh!" But that last bit at the end there, I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like that really actually got me for a second. So I'm like, "All right, this game got a reaction out of me." So I can't wait to see what other moments like that we can expect.
For those that don't know, Yong, you grew up in Venezuela, right? And then moved to America at a young age. How was that transition, if you remember it? I know you were young.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was, it was a tough transition because it's leaving a whole life behind. I lived there long enough, 14 years, that I, had friends there, and, I never anticipated that we'd just, pick ourselves up and just move to a completely different foreign place. But fortunately, my parents were well prepared. I had been tutored in English from 1st to 2nd grade. And then from 3rd grade onwards, there was this American school in Venezuela that were Americans in Venezuela gathered and, I was essentially surrounded by Americans in that school from 3rd grade to 8th grade. So at that point, I learned English pretty well because it was sink or swim. If I didn't learn English, my educational career would go down the drain. But just being surrounded by people who speak the language and being forced to speak the language, especially at that young age, really makes you learn a language pretty quickly. And so that's how I mastered English. But, the reason we moved was because Hugo Chavez kind of just wrecked the country. The head of the president or whatever at the time. And so my parents, foreseeing that the country was just not heading in a good place, are like, we got to get out of here. And so they had the foresight to move us to America. And I was 14, I didn't know anybody, but I knew English at least well enough to get by. And I just had to adapt, learn all kinds of new slangs. I got plenty of people got plenty of laughs out of me going, wait, what does that mean? And they're like, oh man, did he just say that out loud in front of the teacher? And then I'm like, well, what did I just say? But eventually you settle in and you get through it. And now I feel, pretty Americanized, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
Do you feel at home?
I feel at home. I feel at home now. Yeah.
Because were you at Delaware? Is that right?
Yeah, I first moved to Delaware, lived there up until May of 2019. That's when I moved here to LA to pursue voiceover.
And you're still fluent in Spanish, right? Are you?
Yeah, every once in a while, like forget a word. I'm like, what was that word again? Because, I don't speak Spanish as much as I used to, but, I spoke Spanish for 14 years of my life. And that's just like, it's like once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you can go 10 years without riding one, but you kind of know how to ride the bicycle still, even after all that time. That muscle memory or the mental memory, it's all there.
Is it easier to listen to it rather than speak it at this point?
Yeah, when I listen to it, I can understand everything. Unless like they speak super fast, then maybe I'm like, wait, can you repeat that? But yeah, I can understand it fairly well. And I can speak it fairly well too. It's just every once in a while, like, oh, what's that word again?
Yeah. But, and you haven't needed it for a voiceover gig, have you?
For
a role or anything? Yeah, you haven't gone for anything in that realm yet?
Actually, recently, a couple of weeks ago, I finally did one gig that was all in Spanish. And that was really cool.
That is cool, man. Congrats.
Yeah.
No, congrats on your whole transition. We'll get into that a little bit later, into voice acting. And I mean, you're still a YouTuber at heart, but I know that's also one of your passions. I remember years ago, man, I reckon I found you for MGS. It would have been nearly 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know, 9 years ago. You were really going in depth on Metal Gear Solid 5 and the trailers, and that's where I first discovered you. Is that where your sort of passion came? Is that where it came through and you started to get traction on YouTube?
I'd say the first bit of big traction that I got was when I did Skyrim coverage before that game came out and before Metal Gear Solid 5 came out. That's when I first began to get noticed. That's when, MCNs began to approach me telling me, hey, you can like make money off of this and turn this into a career. I'm like, oh, no way, really? And then people like kind of began to recognize the name Yong. Yeah, but it wasn't until Metal Gear where I really kind of found like this void to fill in the YouTube landscape. But nobody else was really, like one or two other channels maybe were, but generally Metal Gear was just not the kind of content being covered. Yeah, not to a degree that I was shocked me, because I'm like, this is one of the most seminal franchises. So I mean, as someone who loves Metal Gear and has followed these games and the lore for so long, I feel like I could, provide a bit of community service for fans of the series who want to stay up to date and find someone who they can relate to on that front. And so that coverage definitely kind of put me on the radar, I feel like, on YouTube. And then after that, once the Kojima Konami fiasco went down, Metal Gear it wasn't an option to just be a Metal Gear channel, so I had to adapt. But fortunately, alongside Metal Gear, occasionally I cover other games like Fallout 4 and Final Fantasy 15. And so eventually I'm like, let's just like start covering a little bit of everything, really, and just games industry stuff in general.
Now that's a tough thing to do as a YouTuber, to go from one game to all. That's almost suicide for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought, like, once the Kojima Konami thing went down, I'm like, I think this is it for my channel. I think I have to like think about my future. But fortunately, my incredible community, they stuck around. A few people were like, I was here for the Metal Gear content, I'm going to unsubscribe now. But the majority were like, dude, you're whatever you want to talk about, we're here with you. And then once, the 2017 was when the channel really got big, because that's when that was the perfect storm of like Battlefront 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda. And I covered both of those fiascos at the same time. Yeah. And so a lot of people like were as frustrated as I was about these two games that we were very excited about. They had so much potential. And so that coverage really kind of skyrocketed my channel. And that's
how many subs are we talking? Do you remember? General idea?
I was probably at like a little over 100,000 maybe at that time, and that skyrocketed me to like hundreds of thousands more. And then 2 years after, I think it was in 2019, late 2019, that's when I hit 1 million. So did that Sonic coverage push you further as well? Because I know they did. I watched all that. That series did really well. If you remember that. Weirdly, not to the degree that like the Battlefront 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda and like all the loot box coverage stuff did, but it certainly was a significant boost. I usually am not I don't cover movies often, just sometimes when it's game related. But like it definitely like there was a spike within that kind of small window of like Sonic coverage when all that went down. But it wasn't like the thing that skyrocketed my channel. A lot of that was just from gaming coverage.
I know you're a bit of a cinephile too. Like you love your movies, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we talking here? What have you been watching lately? What's some recommendations?
Well, the latest thing I finished, and I guess it's more of a TV show or a series. It's Sandman. Sandman I thought was fantastic. I actually never read the comics or didn't really even know much about this character, but a friend of mine who was like, dude, you got to watch this. Just really kind of presented a pitch. I'm like, all right, this sounds like it could be up my alley. And even as someone who's never like read the comics or don't know much about Sandman, I'm like, this is a really good show.
I've never heard of the comics either. Yeah, I will. I am going to watch it. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to watch it.
Gotcha.
This week.
Yeah,
I have heard good things. Yeah.
Beyond that, Better Call Saul, the finale just happened, and
that's bittersweet, man. Don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. It was not like the ending wasn't as tragic as I thought it was. Like there are definitely a lot of undertones of tragic, but it could have been worse. It's like I wouldn't say there's an element of redemption is too strong of a word, but there's an element of like, Jimmy's back, to a degree at the end. You know what I mean? Like he kind of acknowledges. He has a moment of introspection. And it kind of becomes this love story at the end, you know what I mean, essentially. And so I just love the way they tied everything together, just this perfectly wrapped gift with a bow on top, and the way it ties into Breaking Bad is the best prequel ever made, ever. Like I've never seen a spin-off or prequel nailing it this hard and in some way surpassing the original show. So
it is.
I love that show to death.
I was skeptical on it first season, and then it just wins you over as it goes on with the great writing and Michael Mando and the cast over there. They're phenomenal.
Cast, man.
Yeah, they really are phenomenal. So
100%.
What's some movies you've seen? Like I'm guessing you've seen Top Gun Maverick. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was really good. I mean, honestly, like my favorite, I love just cyberpunk stuff. Like The Matrix is my favorite movie of all time. It's like, it's got both style and substance. It's not one or the other. It's got like both, man. And the style is like groundbreaking style, especially for that time. And even today, there's nothing quite like The Matrix in terms of the vibes and the kind of action we see there. And then just the way they introduce the idea of like questioning reality and like, how do you even know if something is real or isn't when you're trapped in this escape where everything seems so real? And lines like, do you think that's air you're breathing now? To like acclimate Neo to the idea of like, understand that now that you know this isn't the real world, you can essentially activate mental cheat codes, but you have to like make yourself believe, like finally acknowledge that you're not living in this that this reality really isn't
such
real.
A good movie.
Like, presenting the concept of like getting out of your own head of like, you have to free your mind literally of this concept of, oh, this is real. No, it isn't. It's a video game, basically. That's how you have to think of it if you want to be able to dodge bullets and jump across buildings and stuff like that.
I rewatched them in anticipation for the later one. Did you watch the latest one?
I did.
Oh no, you didn't like it? Yeah.
I didn't. No. I didn't hate it as much as plenty of other people did. I think like the action scenes just felt like it really fell short of the bar that the Matrix trilogy established. There's certain elements of execution that I would question, but I'm like, there are interesting ideas there at the same time. I don't know.
It was the execution, I think.
Yeah. Some interesting concepts though. But I also do get why not many people are receptive to it. It's very like tonally even, I think, different from the original trilogy. Well, they really go hard with the meta stuff, you know, and in a way that for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. But generally, it's got very mixed reviews. But yeah, I don't know. It was just all right.
What do you think of video game movies?
I mean, it depends, I suppose. Man, I don't think many of them have entirely succeeded. It's only when like Spider-Man, for example, obviously it started off more as a comic thing and then, you know, turned to an animated series and eventually movies. But like they did their own thing with the video game instead of like trying to adapt a movie. I guess Spider-Man 2, I recall, you know, people are fond of that one.
Yeah.
The movie adaptation
definitely.
of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I play that, it was still like rough around the edges. Spider-Man on PS4, like that's like they made this video game and like it's its own unique storyline and they tailored this Spider-Man experience to be a video game. And so that turned out really well. But for the most part, when it's a direct adaptation, it all falls apart. And with time constraints of like, oh, we want to release the game around the time that the movie comes out and all these things, it always feels cheap and it always feels rushed. And it doesn't feel like a whole lot of like care and love was put into it on the level that some of these more beloved AAA games are. But I don't know. I just, maybe there's a good example, but I just can't think of one right now. I don't know if you know of any that are actually
a good video game movie. There's not many, man. Unfortunately, like I wasn't a big fan of Uncharted, unfortunately, and that's my favorite game series of all time.
Oh, wait, are you talking movie to video game adaptation or video game to movie adaptation?
I was talking video game to movie.
Gotcha. Okay, I thought you were talking the other way around, and I'm like, I can't think of any that are good. I think the Sonic movies are decent. Like they're fun.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. They're harmless. They're not like, you know, masterpieces or anything. But you go in there, you turn off your brain for a bit, and you know, after they redesigned Sonic to look less nightmarish, I thought it worked. Uncharted, I haven't watched yet. I don't know. I hear pretty mixed things about that one.
Like you got Tomb Raider, you got the Mario movie coming out with Chris Pratt of all people.
Yeah.
What about Charles Martinet, man?
Right, I know he's gonna come in as a guest star, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
But that is gonna be animated, so at least like live action, I just don't think works for Mario as we have seen before.
Did you like the Mortal Kombat animated movie?
Oh yeah, actually, I actually did enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Not everything about it worked, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing the sequel. I love the way they portrayed like Scorpion, and some of the fatalities. I thought they captured the essence of the game. One of the fatalities actually made me go, ooh, like it made me actually cringe a little bit. I think you might know the one that I'm talking about. I think it was Kung Lao.
Oh yeah,
with a hat.
Oh yeah, that was good.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And so there are scenes like that are I think highlight moments, but
I got a soft spot for it because a lot of the cast and crew are Australian.
Is that right?
And it was I think it was shot here, and obviously Kano was the big star for me. And
Kano was
Josh Lawson.
Yeah,
he was great.
He was fun. Yeah. He was fun.
We got a few questions here, guys. Please keep them coming in, and I'll get to them in a second. There's actually one movie I wanted to discuss with you, the Metal Gear Solid film, which I believe Moon Knight. Give me his name.
Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac. He was attached to play Snake. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
How do you think that will go? Because that's a tough sort of property to fit into a film, I feel like.
Yeah.
In a 2 hour or so time frame.
Definitely. It makes me a little more optimistic that the director, Jordan Vogt-Roberts, he does seem to be like an avid Metal Gear fan. And he's like good friends with Kojima and everything. So it's like, I do feel like he's dedicated to the source material and he's not just, throwing his name in there just, for the sake of it. And like he did that whole like 30th anniversary, like every day he posted a new concept art or something. I don't know if you remember that on Twitter.
Yep.
He did do that. And so it's like there's a genuine passion that I feel from him that makes me optimistic that if this movie one day comes out, it has the potential to maybe please fans and like, you know, I'm sure he'll try to do some elements that are his own thing, but I hope for the most part it does capture a certain essence that Metal Gear has, a certain voice that it has. But the question for me is it ever even going to get made? Because we haven't really heard much about it. But Oscar Isaac attached, I think, is pretty cool. I watching Moon Knight, especially, there's one scene where I'm like, that feels like Oscar Isaac has just went full Solid Snake mode, and so I'm like, all right, I'd be curious to see him play the role now.
I feel like he carried Moon Knight just quietly.
100%, 100%. Yeah, his performance is really what carried it, especially when he's interacting with himself. He does a great job at differentiating the different characters, and so that's always like fun to watch. But in terms of like the Tomb Raidery aspects of Moon Knight, I'm like, I don't know, I kind of tuned out anytime those sequences showed up. But yeah, the Metal Gear Solid movie, man, that's a tough one, because part of what makes Metal Gear Solid so special is the way it leverages the interactive nature of video games, and it you know, those meta moments that also have you know, like Metal Gear Solid 2 had this big finale, right, with this huge meta moment where they were telling you turn off the game console, but at the same time they were talking to you about we're going to be in a future where it's going to be AI and information and the abuse of misinformation, and basically predicted the future. And so it's like, how do you capture stuff like that in movie format? And so Jordan Vogt-Roberts is going to have to figure that one out, and I hope he nails it on that front. But yeah, mainly I just hope he captures that vibe and really understands how special this series is to people and does it justice. But I don't even know if it's happening anymore.
Yeah, I know. Marin plays. I remember watching Yong's Metal Gear videos a few years back. If there was a remake of MGS1, Yong, what would you like to see that wasn't in the original?
What would I like to see that wasn't in the original? Man,
I worry about MGS1 because some of the boss fights might not translate to third-person view, if you get me.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. But, you know, you look at a remake like Final Fantasy VII Remake and what they did with that.
I know, yeah.
And, you know, it's a very different game from the original, but it has enough of the original in there. But obviously, even narratively, they kind of veer off a lot, especially towards the end. And I don't even know where the story's headed anymore. But that's an example of a remake where, you know, the gameplay change is not turn-based anymore. It's more of like a tactical, live gameplay, moment-to-moment action RPG. And so I feel like with Metal Gear Solid, they, you know, if they're going to change the camera perspective, for example, they have to like change aspects of the level design and stuff like that, because the game as it is now on PS1 was designed for that bird's eye view, and if you give it a third person perspective, it's going to be super easy, honestly. So there are things that they have to like rethink, and so if they're gonna change the perspective instead of keeping it top down, there's a lot of work to do there. But in terms of, man, I don't want them to mess too much with Metal Gear Solid, honestly. It's so just tightly packaged and so perfect, I feel, in a lot of ways. It's just more like I want to see them modernize the gameplay and aspects of level design to fit modern gameplay standards and graphic standards and stuff like that. But I can't think of much that I'm like, oh, they need to add this thing to make it better, you know, because it's just so good on its own.
It's already that damn good.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about that remake behind the scenes? Because I've heard it's in development and it's pretty close, but I don't know what you've heard.
Man, it's like some people are saying it's going to be a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. Others are saying that it's a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake that's actually in development. So I don't know what to think anymore. But I mean, you know, reports came out before the Silent Hill leaks that a bunch of Silent Hill stuff was in development. And now we're starting to see that come to fruition. And alongside those rumors, the Metal Gear Solid rumors, the Metal Gear Solid remake rumors also kind of cropped up alongside that. And so it does feel like these rumors have validity behind them. It does feel like Konami is trying to get back into develop, at the very least, licensing, which is the most ideal thing they can do with their IPs right now. Because whenever Konami internally develops a game, it just without the talent, it just turns out like crap. We've seen that with Metal Gear Survive, with Contra.
Come on, Metal Gear Solid Survive was incredible. Come on, yo.
Top tier, yeah, of course. Game of the millennium.
I never played it. I never played it. Yeah.
That's the correct choice.
You reviewed it, didn't you?
No, I wanted to. I tried to. I just couldn't get through it. I just couldn't. It was one of those games that I did like check out at like E3, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's like some interesting ideas here, but you can't really get the full picture of a game when you only play for like 10, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Or was it like, I forget how long that session was, maybe 30 minutes, but either way, I was like, all right, maybe there's, some interesting ideas here. But then like once you play through the whole game, you realize the mechanics of Metal Gear Solid 5 don't jive with a zombie shooter, tower defense gameplay. That those mechanics were designed for stealth gameplay a la Metal Gear Solid 5. And so that fundamental misunderstanding just made the gameplay not great, and the gameplay loop itself was just not that well designed, and all these things. So, sorry, what was the question that I was answering? I want to tirade about.
Even I've forgotten. Don't worry, it's all good. We're just going off on tangents. It's all good.
Yeah.
MGS. We were talking about the remake essentially, but
right.
What you've heard.
Right. So. Yeah, it could be a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, but either way, I'd be happy to see Konami just license out their stuff. I don't want them to make their own stuff. That's what it was. Yeah, when they licensed out Castlevania, we got that really great show on Netflix. And now they're licensing Silent Hill out to rumor has it Annapurna for a more sort of smaller package, serialized kind of Silent Hill series. Apparently Bloober, rumor has it, they're working on a Silent Hill 2 remake, and then some Japanese development studio with like the original original developers of Silent Hill. Apparently they're coming together to create the next mainline entry, whether that's a soft reboot or a proper sequel, I don't know. Also, I love the Dimitrescu poster right back there.
It's signed by all the actors when I had them on. They, all the
man of culture. But I just if you give Metal Gear to the right studio, I'll be hyped for it. If you give it to Blue Point, boom, I'm already on board. They did such a great job with Shadow Colossus remake, with Demon Souls remake, with remastering the Metal Gear the HD remasters of the Metal Gear Solid collection and stuff like that. So
pretty sure they did Uncharted too. Uncharted collection, right.
They did something Uncharted related, if I recall.
Sorry if you can hear my dog going off, by the way.
Oh no, I can barely hear it. Yeah. All good.
So where do you think the MGS series can go? Does it continue without the man? Will he ever get back? Will the band get back together, do you think? Because I want to see the franchise continue, but without him, I'm skeptical.
Metal Gear Solid is such a singularly Kojima creation. Like, it's so his signature that I feel like anyone who tries to make a sequel to the stuff that already exists would feel like an imitation, like somebody trying to be Kojima. You know what I mean? And then if they try to just be themselves, it's like it just wouldn't feel like Metal Gear. It would just feel like somebody else's interpretation of it. So it's like it's this very, because of how closely tied the Metal Gear series is to Kojima's identity, really. It just feels you can't really separate the two. If somebody can prove me wrong, I'd more than welcome that. You know, maybe if Kojima can kind of be behind the scenes offering some counsel, maybe.
Would that be enough for you? I've pondered that point. Like, would that still be enough? And I don't know. I don't think it will be. You know?
No, I don't think so either. Nah. You know, you look at something like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which is a spin-off and it's its own thing. So I don't really care that that's not Kojima vibes per se. That very much feels like a Platinum game.
Yeah.
That kind of, but through the lens of Metal Gear a little bit, but it's still, you can tell it's not a Kojima game. It's just the vibe is, they try to capture aspects of it, but you just don't feel like it's a Hideo Kojima game. And it's like, when you play a Hideo Kojima game, you really feel it. And I don't know anyone in the world who can capture that, because Kojima is such a uniquely identifiable, he has such a unique signature that replicating that would just feel like, oh yeah, they're just trying to copy it.
It's like watching a Quentin Tarantino film. You sort of know it's him, you know.
Yeah,
just by
that's the thing.
It. Yeah,
there's just the signature that he has.
Yeah,
and so I think they're gonna have to either soft reboot it or bring someone who they're really confident can capture enough of Kojima's essence to be able to make a sequel. But even then, I don't know if people would consider it canonical. It depends on how well it's pulled off. Who knows? Maybe somebody can bring a new perspective to Metal Gear that actually could elevate it on some level, maybe. But generally, I'd prefer if they, for now, stick to remakes until they can kind of prove themselves a little bit, or give it to the right studio and the right developers to. The best hope I have is maybe one day Kojima and Konami can make can shake hands enough that Konami will license it out to Kojima Productions, and maybe one day they can revisit that series and make a proper sequel directed by Kojima. Maybe old wounds can mend, you know?
Yeah, Kojima Productions buys Metal Gear rights. Imagine that headline, Yong.
Hell,
how hype would you be? Yeah. Yeah, PlayStation
would be. How hard would I be?
No. How hype would you be?
It would sound like this right now. That's
oh shit.
But how hard would you be?
No. How hype?
Oh gosh, I heard how hard.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, both appropriate questions.
Both appropriate.
Yeah.
It's just us here. No one's watching.
I would scream. I would literally scream because Metal Gear. The Metal Gear franchise is the most special one in my heart, and so to see it go down the way it did was, man, that was depressing. So if it can get a proper revival on that level, where either Kojima Productions or PlayStation, even if they acquire the rights, they'll be like, all right, Kojima, do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just, fingers crossed. I feel like it's possible. But
what about YongYea has been casted as a lead in MGS6?
Here's the thing: I would, if for whatever reason, if somehow the stars align and I got to audition for a character like, Solid Snake, or the first thing I'd be like, I need to contact David Hayter and make sure that I have his blessing or that he wasn't available. But I would never, like, if David Hayter was available and willing to return to the role, I would never audition for that role. I would just leave it to him to play it, because he is Snake, period. That's it. There's no argument. He is Snake. Unless there's a reason why he won't return or can't return, then maybe I'd do my own take on it. But if I could play a new villain, a new side character, a supporting character, someone who's new to the series, I would jump on that opportunity if it's developed by the right studio and if I get good vibes from this project.
Geez, there'd be pressure there because you're just such a big fan of the series. And how would you handle pressure? I mean, you probably had a similar experience with Jojo because you were a big fan of that series. Did you feel pressure for that?
Well, in the days leading up to the release of that first batch of episodes, that's when I was like, oh my God, people are going to listen to this. I forgot about that part. Like when I was in the booth performing, I was like, yeah, I get to play this character. And it's so fun. It's so cool that I get to do this for a living. But then I'm like, oh, right.
The reaction.
People are going to consume this content. People are going to react to this. And I had a little bit of imposter syndrome the day before. I'm like, oh my God, no, I fucked it. What was I thinking taking on this role? People are going to just shred it, just trash it, and they're going to hate me, and I'm going to ruin this character for them. What have I done? But then, once the episodes came out, people were very kind, and they, many people enjoyed the performance and everything. So I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And but now, I'm as I gain more experience in the voiceover realm, I kind of have to get into the mindset of it's not about that. Like I do take a great pride and understand the responsibility of playing a character like that. But at the end of the day, as an actor, I have to focus on the craft itself. And so I just need to keep that in mind, and the rest will play itself out one way or another, And so, I think I'll get used to that pressure and just focus on what matters. Just like understanding the character and delivering the emotions that need to be delivered for the scenes that need to be delivered. Just putting my best foot forward, and that's it. That's all you can do, So, just kind of not distract myself of forces that I cannot control is kind of what I'm trying to do as much as possible.
Rat Gaddy, thank you, man, for becoming a member. He says, what's Yong's favorite MGS game?
Man, okay. So I think the overall best in the series is Metal Gear Solid 3. But if I had to pick one that's like my favorite in terms of the imprint that it left on me, it's Metal Gear Solid 1. There was just, I had played nothing like that at the time. The impression that, the first time Psycho Mantis reads that memory card, that's when you're like, video games can do this. That's insane. And it makes you like that same sense of shock that maybe Snake has when he's like, wait, you can read my mind. It's like the player has a bit of that, because they would never expected that a character in the video game would read your memory card and gauge what video games you like to play. So it's like you kind of feel more aligned with how Solid Snake is feeling in that situation. Yeah. It's like little things like that video games can do that movies and games can't do quite on that level. And I mean, Gray Fox and just one of my favorite characters. I love those badass cyborg ninjas, and he's like top tier for me. The just how tight the packages in general. And
well paced, isn't it?
Well paced, very well paced. Yeah. And the level design of it's almost Metroidvania-esque. You know what I mean? Like how certain acquisitions of items and equipment open up new parts of the facility of Shadow Moses and stuff like that. And the bosses, I mean, those characters, the Foxhound characters in particular, are just so iconic in my head. As much as I love the Cobra unit as well. So
is it? I'm trying to remember if it's MGS1 where he goes in the locker room and there's that little Easter egg with the poster of that girl.
That might have been Metal Gear Solid 2. I remember had something like that. I mean, all the Metal Gears all have something to that. Like in Metal Gear Solid 3, I think it's when as you're flying into a Soviet territory, you can press R1 to go into first-person view inside the cockpit, essentially. And if you look up, you'll see a poster of a model.
Yeah, that's right.
Metal Gear Solid 1 did that. For some reason, I can't remember if Metal Gear Solid 1 had a. It probably
did. Yeah.
I just forget exactly where.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, for some reason, I remember more.
But that's Psycho Mantis. That's specifically. Yeah. I'd be interested to see how they did that in the remake.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, how do you recapture something like that? Though, I mean, can games read other games' memory saves, or at least browse through your saves library to be like, I see you've played God of War.
Yeah, it could.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. We have maybe they'll come up with new and interesting gimmicks, if you will, quote unquote, with the new technological capabilities that we have now, and take that to a whole other level and beyond just like, oh, what games do you play? Maybe it's like, oh, you've played this game for this long. You're obsessed with this one. I see. I don't know. They can do some crazy stuff now.
So what's your most played game lately, last few years?
Oh, man. Last few years.
Is there a game you go back to?
I'd say Binding of Isaac every once in a while I do go back to. Yeah. It's this, I mean, it's and recently they released a new expansion. The variety of, I don't know how much of Binding of Isaac you've played, but it's this roguelite where the kinds of builds you can make with the crazy varieties of items you can acquire, you can just straight up break the game with the right combination of items. You can have lasers shooting out of your eyes while eyeballs are spinning around you, and while static is just emanating all over the place, and just you're shredding through enemies. Is that level of build variety that you can create in Binding of Isaac, because they keep adding crazy amounts of new and varied items. It's just addictive, and every run feels fresh as a result. So once in a while, I go back to that.
I know of it. I just I have never played it, but I know that the Platinum Trophy is a tough one. I know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There are tons of unlocks and secrets to find in Binding of Isaac. So yeah, there's lots to do in that game. It's just really fun. It's simple but super super fun. Vampire Survivors lately I've been a little addicted to.
Really?
Wow. I don't know if you've played that one. Yeah,
I have.
The whole control scheme is just move with the analog stick and occasionally select some stuff in the menus. That's it. All you do is move, so funny and then
That's the one that's getting you. It's just interesting.
Yeah. So stuff like that. But then in terms of more AAA stuff, like Elden Ring, I've put so much time into, more so than most, if not all, games this year.
Yeah, definitely.
And in the past, I don't know, 5 years or something, Breath of the Wild, I put 135 hours into. I usually, I don't know if I'm just getting old or whatever. It's just once you get past the 100 hour mark, I tend to feel fatigued with a game enough that I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it down for a bit and maybe come back later, and then maybe I won't come back to it because I have so many other games.
I think 100 hours is pretty. You can pat yourself on your back after that.
Exactly. But Breath of the Wild, just like the sense of adventure and finding things in the world was so well done that I just couldn't stop wanting to explore further.
Yep.
And Elden Ring kind of gave that sense as well, but on a more like downtrodden world, depressing, kick your ass level than Breath of the Wild. But those two epic adventures really stand out. Persona 5, I'd say that game takes like over 100 hours.
I've never played it, man. It's on my backlog. It's
super good. I think some of its dungeons do like stretch a little thin at times. And I feel like they could have compressed the game and made it just a tighter overall package. But I love the characters, and it's one of those games that after I finished, I'm like, man, I'm gonna miss these guys. I'm gonna miss hanging out with these guys. But I still haven't played Royal because that's even longer. It's just Persona 5 with more.
Is there a difference between Royal and 5?
Yes, there is.
Right.
They introduce a new character. I think some scenarios from the original game do play out a little bit differently, and then they add a new like semester essentially. A new season.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's literally like an expansion almost, but the entire game has also been repurposed for the sake of that expansion, and the gameplay elements have been reshuffled or enhanced in some ways. And so that's like, if Persona 5, the original, took me 110 hours, this one probably take me like 130 to 140 hours. So I just need to find the time is the main issue.
I've got it on my Vita, still unplayed. So I don't know if that's the place to play it, or maybe that's Persona 4 actually.
That's Persona 4,
right? That's Persona 4.
Unless they announce Persona 5 for Vita and for whatever reason.
No. So I was gonna play 4 into 5, but I
guess they did announce 5 for Switch. So if you're into portable gaming for Persona, that's a great option.
They did too, and Xbox, I think, was it?
And Xbox, yeah. I love that it's just like Persona is really spreading its wings and going to all these consoles and becoming more accessible, because everyone should, I feel like, play this series at some point. It's super good.
No, it's one that I'm missing for sure. What's a game that everyone talks about that you missed over the years? Is there any that you missed? Like, is there a glaring title in your backlog?
God, that's a great question.
Because I've got a lot of friends of mine have Breath of the Wild as one of theirs, and I think, come on, guys, really?
Yeah. Oh man,
yeah.
Recently, I'd say Stray. I've been meaning to pick up and play, just haven't had the time. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, the cat game! It's so adorable!" And it feels like everyone's played it, but me. But I do plan to get to that soon. Let's see. I feel like a lot of people I meet, they've played like World of Warcraft, and I think I'm among the few who just like booted it up for like and did like 10 levels and then never played it again. And so I know very little about World of Warcraft, which I think is rarer than one might think. I think maybe, I don't know.
I think you get a pass for that one because it's such a time sink. To do. Good luck doing all of it. I mean, it'd take you thousands of hours, but I'm in a similar boat to you. I've played like 10 hours or so. But
yeah. Beyond that, there's probably
covered most of the big series. You've played most of them. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, the Halo series I haven't been as in tune with as other series. Like I've never finished 3 and ODST. Like I think I finished 1, and I got well into 2, like almost finished it. But then like for some reason I just never picked up 3 or 4 or 5 or ODST or any of those. So I still have to like play those, but I did play Infinite, and I had a lot of fun with that. So at least the campaign. I know now that's the multiplayer and the live service stuff is not going super well right now.
Yeah. I feel like it's moving too slow. Where these days you've got to be a bit. I don't know. The pace has to be picked up for a game like that in releasing updates, and there's. I don't think is the co-op out yet. I still don't know if it's out.
I think it's coming out soon.
Okay.
Yeah. It's on its way this year.
Yeah.
If I recall.
All right. So in terms of YouTube, I want to pick your brain quickly. What's a typical day like for yourself these days? Because I'm guessing you've honed in on the research aspects. Like You know, is there a certain site you're going to that you trust over others? Or how does a typical day go for you?
So I always try to look for the original source for something as much as I can. So like, because usually be like an article that links to this article, that links to this article, via this article, but then there's like that one article that started the chain, you know what I mean? And so I try always look for like the source, because you might get paraphrasing with other articles or them interpreting the original source. So I do try to do that. And then if I don't like the way they format the way they present that information, I'll find one that's like, okay, I like the way they format the information better. So I'll like say the original source is this guy, but this is the article that I'm going to use to present the information, because I just feel like it's better presented. And so, it depends on the story. Some stories I don't have to really do all that much research because I have a good amount of knowledge surrounding that topic. Others, I do have to like really kind of dive into the timeline of events. And so I really try to look at, I try to present stories in as extensive way as possible. I really try to paint the full picture, both like what's happening now and what's the context with future events or past events. And so, it always starts with me kind of browsing around, reading articles, seeing different takes and like where people generally sit with a topic and whatnot. But from there, I formulate my own opinions based on my own experiences. And the research phase probably is the one that's like the longest. That's probably the biggest chunk of the time that's taken up in making a video.
Yeah.
And then after that, I highlight what I need to highlight. I kind of make mental notes of like, all right, I want to tackle the topic in this order. I want to present information like this. And then I begin the recording process. Sometimes I just run through it and do a great one take. Other times I have to like pause and then like, wait, okay, I want to say it a certain way, and then do another take. And so like I'll edit it so it looks seamless, but I'm actually breaking it up in chunks. And then alongside that, I recorded the audio, and then I bring it to Premiere Pro, and I've gotten pretty fast at editing because I've been doing it for so long now, and I don't have an editor. I edit all my videos personally.
Do you have anyone helping you at all with any of your content?
Not really. I've been going solo for this past over a decade now, I guess, or like a decade.
Do you think you'll ever open it up, or you like to keep it to yourself?
Maybe. Yeah, if I find like maybe an editor who's like, oh, he gets my vibe, because it's not about just finding a good editor. It's an editor who understands your style.
Yeah.
And so maybe one day if I start feeling overworked and stuff, but it's just thus far I've been able to do everything by myself. Graphics design, I've done it, since I was a kid. And so like all the thumbnails and everything I can make by myself. No problem.
Photoshop or what? Where are you doing it?
Photoshop. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Photoshop. So all that stuff I can do by myself. The editing, I actually enjoy the process of editing. And I think because I'm so particular about the way I edit, I feel the need to do it myself. Well, I think Kojima is a bit like that because he edits his own trailers, which usually isn't like normal. I feel in the games industry, usually you have a marketing team who comes up with that stuff.
I love like, how he does that.
Yeah, I know.
Clips of him. Yeah,
his trailers are amazing too.
They're usually about 100 hours, but they're still
exactly.
They're good.
But I mean, he picks the right music and like he knows how to cut everything just right to match with the beat of the music, and it's just like the vibes his trailers give off are amazing. But and my editing style isn't complex. It's a relatively simple form of editing.
Yeah.
It's just about, but I like editing is where, once you do, the principal photography, that's where you like take the clay and start molding it. You like remove the pieces that don't need to be there. You shape it just right so that it presents the story the way you want it to be presented. And because I'm very particular about how I want to, word things or how I want what I'm presenting to come off, I feel like I have to be there editing it myself. But maybe one day, for game reviews, especially, those take up a lot of time because you have to look for the bits of footage in your entire playthrough to like align with what you're saying. That I do that as much as possible. And so when I review games, I literally have my phone here, which is like it like folds out like that. And I set it on this, I prop this up like this. I put it on my table. I have this wireless Bluetooth keyboard. And as I'm playing, I'll like write notes. I look at the time code on my recording and be like, okay, at 1 hour, 06 minutes and 30 seconds, a bug or something cool happened. And then I'll like take extensive notes. I can control F and try to find all the
I can't
footage
do that, man. I can't,
Yeah.
I've tried to do that, but I just can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm recording so much footage that I'd be stopping every 5 seconds, you know?
Right. I just need to find like one example of something. So I'm not like
you're not
hard.
going so hard. Yeah. I get it.
Right. So, but it does take up a lot of time. So I hope maybe one day I might find an editor for that. But in terms of my daily news videos, I feel like I can take care of those.
Yeah.
I've found my workflow. I know how to do it fairly quickly now. I like when I'm using Premiere Pro, I've gotten pretty good at my shortcuts, so I don't even have to look at my keyboard as I'm editing anymore, you know?
You're like me, 100%.
Yeah.
Flying through Adobe like it's nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. And so once the research and the recording's done, the editing is where that's the fastest part because I've structured the video already in my recording. And so all I have to just remove the parts where maybe I pause or remove some of the stumbles and fumbles here and there and just like piece it together and make it flow and have it, pace well and stuff like that. But that's sort of the process for me.
So I notice you don't have any second channels, or you haven't delved into shorts, or you don't do Instagram really, you don't do TikTok.
Yeah.
Are you going to ever expand into that, or are you just going to stick with what you know, Twitter, YouTube, long form content?
I don't want to rule anything out. Maybe one day, but right now I just feel like I have enough on my plate where I don't want to think about what TikTok video should I post today. Though I don't know, maybe I could like just take chunks of the videos I already upload and just like do a very bite-sized version of that news that's like 30 seconds long or something. So I have ideas, but I'm not like in a hurry to dive into TikTok. Instagram, it's just social media being what it is, it's like Twitter's already enough. You know what I mean? I don't need another layer to that. And I don't know, I'm really not super into like posting pictures of myself. You know what I mean? Like, I like to meet. Yeah. It's like if you want to see,
you like to be in the real world, like me.
Yeah, I like to be in the real world. Exactly. Like
as much as you can.
Some people are just like really photogenic, and they get a lot out of posting stuff on Instagram. But for my part, it's like I want to keep some parts of my life private.
Yeah,
I want to delineate enough between my real life and social media where I can like take a breather when I need to step back from social media. And so, I'm just trying to keep it light for now with just Twitter and YouTube. That's enough of a social media load for now.
And you're still enjoying the content you're putting out on the main channel, and you're just going to keep with that for the next few years? You don't have any plans to do anything different or try anything crazy? You're just going to stick to what you know, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to, every once in a while I'll upload like a shit post or something. I don't know, just like a dumb little skit, I don't know. So there are moments like that where I'll maybe upload something unusual, but I feel very passionate about the topics that I talk about. I love the games industry, and I just wanted to get better. I don't want EA to burn down. I want them to reevaluate their priorities, reevaluate their leadership. That's all, because they have such great franchises. And like when EA, those few times EA does put out a game that's just like a video game and it's good. And so it's like EA you could do so much more with the library of franchises you have under your umbrella, and you're just letting all that go to waste with your bullshit corporate.
Technically, they had Game of the Year last year, in my opinion. It takes two.
It takes two, right? That's the thing. That's one of the things I'll give EA credit for when it comes to how they treat indies. Like, people who've worked with EA all have very positive experience. Well, some I've heard a few sorts of like years ago. But most like EA just like funds their projects and lets them do their thing. It's like, why don't you do that for your AAA stuff more often, so you can see that level of like critical success that can lead to financial success on a level like Elden Ring, which sold more copies than than Anthem did, than friggin' Star Wars Battlefront 2, than all those live services did.
Don't say Anthem. Oh man, what a disappointment.
Oh man.
Oh
that
boy.
Which must not be named.
Hey, so Cyberpunk 2077. I actually I've said it before. I really enjoyed. Obviously, no one likes the fucking bugs, the glitches, the performance issues. Yes, the police aren't great either, and there's a few different things. Yeah. But the story and the characters were fantastic, and you agree with me. So why did you get so much hate in that review? And you had to apologize and all this. Like, what happened there? What was the big backlash? Is that you didn't talk about the bugs enough, or what?
I did talk I did talk about the bugs, but there were just other elements that in hindsight I'm like I was a little too forgiving. And if this were any other game or any other company, I would have like delved into those flaws a lot harder. But I think, I don't know whether it was hype or just me placing my hopes and dreams that CD Projekt would be the gold standard of AAA video games or something. I do think with that review, I let myself be a little blindsided, a little, and like of my own fault, just by my own, I think bias really of CD Projekt and me, seeing them as something to hold up on a pedestal. And that just made me like, I think, I don't know, subconsciously just like not go as hard on the stuff that needed to be criticized. And I feel like I shouldn't, the embargo that they presented, I had weird feelings about it of like, they weren't giving us console versions and we only had a week to play it. So I had to like rush through this game. Like I mean, like I haven't rushed before, really, honestly. And so that wasn't even the proper way to play this game. And so the fact that I was rushing, I think contributed to me not really being able to sit down and like really address the flaws, because I was just like beelining the story, and the story was super good. And so that's like all I was getting. And I wasn't really like sitting down and really kind of looking at everything, and like the reactivity of the world, I really wasn't paying much attention to. So I just, when I revisited that review, like a couple months after it released, I kind of watched it. I'm like, this is just not a good review. Like, this is just not representative of what I feel should be my quality standards when it comes to a review. So I decided, I could have just like let it coast by, just let it sit there and then pretend like nothing's happened. But every time I look at my channel, I see my game review section, I see that video, I'm like, it doesn't feel right to keep it there, and it's not about like, oh, people hated on it, because I think they rightfully criticized it. It's just more because like Metal Gear Solid 5 is one of my most like likes to dislikes ratio wise one of the most like divided. But video review is still up. Yeah, because I love that game. But plenty of people, when it first launched, especially because, many, with the incomplete story stuff and all these things. There were aspects of Metal Gear Solid 5 that people felt mixed about. And the way I praised the game so much just didn't sit well with some of the really hardcore fans who were like, no, that this should have been much more than what it was. But I still stand by that review. I played that game twice before I reviewed it. Once at the Metal Gear Solid 5 review event, and then once when I got a review copy here at home, or back in Delaware when I was living there. And I love that game. And every time I come back to it, I have the same opinions about that game. So I'm like, I don't care about if people don't like that review. That is my opinion. That is my take on that game, period. With Cyberpunk 2077, I went back to it, the review, and I'm like, yeah, no, So you actually regret
that review?
I do. The way I tackled all that review, don't get me wrong, the stuff that I did compliment about that game, I genuinely like. I still stand by it. The story, the characters, how beautiful the world looks, even if it's not as reactive as you want it to be, it does like look incredible to look up at the at the buildings or at the skyline and all these things. And I generally still enjoyed that game. It's just I didn't cover all my bases because I blinded myself. And so I felt like I needed to correct that, even if it meant bring that up again and releasing another video saying, hey, I'm going to unlist this video and here's what happened. And people are like, people will accuse me of things, whatever, but I'm like, I'll take the hit. It's just, all I know is like in my heart, I feel like I can't leave this in good conscience, leave this review up because I don't believe in it. Yeah. And so, it was a learning opportunity,
How do you navigate through, because I still see people every now and again bring it up to you, and it must be sort of annoying, but in a way, like I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of hate over the years. How do you deal with it? Yeah. Do you just you don't listen to it? Because I just sort of don't. Yeah. If I get hate like that, I just don't respond and move on. I'm a bit numb to it now, but
yeah. It was. There's a little irritation when how long has it been now since that game launched? When even after all this time, people are still like, but that Cyberpunk.
They still cling on to it,
Yeah, very few people now. Yeah, but it's like, dude, you gotta allow me to be human and fuck up. You gotta. I'm not here to tell you I'll never fuck up ever again, because that's humanly impossible.
Yeah.
I guarantee you I'll fuck up sometime down the line. You know what I mean? I just hope that I can make new mistakes and then learn from those new mistakes instead of repeating the same old mistakes. I did learn a lot from the Cyberpunk 2077 review process and how to handle future review processes. And, you know, since then, it's, you know, like, yeah, I'll still get one or two haters every once in a while, but I recently uploaded a couple reviews for the Steam Deck, for A Cult of the Lamb, and all these things, and people have been very receptive to it. And those reviews, I feel like they turned out, you know, really well, and that, you know, they are representative of my experiences with the game. And yeah, it's just like now I'm more mindful about not letting hype or placing too much trust in a company blinding me to like what should be readily apparent.
Because they were the good guys. Like, you're the same as me. They were the beacon of hope. You know, they were doing everything right. The DLC for The Witcher was like 50 hours. It was
like, and I think I was afraid to believe that that's not what they are. You know, that they are like any other company, really. When they say it's out when it's ready, they were bullshitting us. And I was afraid to admit that, because I so desperately wanted them to show the rest of the games industry how it's done, because I want one company to show the AAA games industry how it's done, because it's just so many companies these days feel like they're just falling by the wayside in terms of quality control or the way they treat their employees and stuff like that. And it's just like I'm trying to look for that one that like can be the leader of the pack, you know, on that front. But
yeah, who is a lead? I feel like who is it? I feel like Insomniac Games are up there for me. They're always pumping out quality content.
Very true. From Software has been pumping out consistently incredible games.
Software,
you know?
And no monetization really in FromSoft either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's still great companies out there. There's still great beacons of hope out there. But I will never ever make the mistake of like placing my hopes and dreams on one company or thinking that a company is infallible, because you never know. But I will always hope that a company continues to live up to the standards that they set previously, and I'll always, you know, wish them good luck and goodwill. But also with the keeping in mind that you never know how they might fuck up, so don't get too like trusting or too like absorbed by one company, because they're at the end of the day they're all companies and they are business, and sometimes they'll do things to keep themselves profitable, you know, to keep that trend of profitability rising, because once they plateau, that's, even though they're making enough money, it's still not enough, you know.
I feel like if there's a bias for me, it's with Naughty Dog, because I love Last of Us, I love Uncharted, Crash Bandicoot, you know. So whenever I talk about their games, I make it known that, guys, I might be a little bit biased here. It's sort of like a Christopher Nolan film as well. I'm the same. I'm the same with Nolan. Man, it's every movie he does 10 out of 10. Don't even come to me, because
I even enjoy Tenet. I'll be honest with you. Like it's
10 out of 10, man. I'm telling you,
it's one of I do like if I had to rank that movie, I think it's definitely like in the lower area. But the ambition of what that movie tried to accomplish, I deeply admire, because nobody else would try something like that.
Ahead of its time. Yeah.
I mean, things going backwards in time and forwards in time at the same time on screen. Like, I thought it was, some of those visuals were spectacular. The story it was a little colder than past Nolan films and not as effective, but the ambition of this concept, I think it's like, it's cool that there's somebody out there who's like trying to do stuff like this.
I feel like
I admire it.
I feel like it lacked emotion. That was the big negative for me with that one.
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, going back to Cyberpunk, you know, I like that game because as I played it, and I think I got it a couple days early on PS5, literally I played 50 hours, I remember, and every hour the game would crash. So 50 crashes, literally 50 crashes. And I still push through because I like the game. So it's crazy, man.
That's the thing. You know, the removal of my review does not signify that I didn't like the game or that I take back all my positive sentiments. No. I still ultimately deeply enjoyed the experience I had with the game. I deeply enjoyed getting to know some of these characters. I thought the first person perspective was actually really effective with the way it all played out so seamlessly. It's like, I remember one moment where It was what's her name? One of the romance options.
Judy.
Panam.
Yep.
Yeah. Where we're at a campfire and she like leans on my shoulder, but in first person, I like scroll the mouse to look down and she's like right there, just like with her head on my shoulder and looking up at me. And I'm like,
damn,
that
you
like,
got me. Yeah.
That like genuinely was like, man, I had a moment there. Like I had like my heart skipped for a second there. And because it's also seamlessly integrated, and then you're really seeing things from the lens of the character, not just like as an outsider looking in. And seeing that all unfold in first person, just there's some scenes that were very, very effective. Like carrying that body out of the bathtub in first person and seeing this utterly like disheveled, just like violated individual, essentially, picking her up and like setting her down in first person, seeing that right there in your face. I think there's an element to that was very, very effective and made for some very powerful moments. And so I actually like that they stuck to their guns with first person, though if they added a third person mode, I wouldn't complain. I get why some people would want that. The character moments are really what stuck with me. And then the gameplay was still very solid. The shooting mechanics I thought worked overall pretty well. I know people wanted more out of the RPG systems, but I did like the character build that I made. I like it was satisfying to pull off those like stealth shots and get the multipliers and all these things. So I still overall had fun with it. It's just I should have gone harder on the stuff that needed to be criticized. Where like if it were an EA game or Ubisoft game, or I would have been like, this is unacceptable.
You can't beat yourself up for it, man. And I don't think you do anymore. You gotta learn to forgive yourself and be like, all right, I fucked up. Cool. Let's just evolve from that. Let's not let that define you.
Define you or anything. It's like life moves on, It's like I didn't commit some, I didn't like murder anyone, You know what I mean? Like
you'd think that you did by some of the people. It's just crazy.
Exactly. That's the thing. You'd think like I murdered their families. But by the way they, but it's like, I just I made a review that I'm like, I should have done better than that, and I will. And that's I'll do my best, and that's all you can do. But I'm still human, and everyone's human. All YouTubers and whatever, people trying their best, they're human, and I just hope people understand that we'll fuck up every once in a while.
100%, man. Are you blacklisted by anyone at this point, or are you got good relationships with everyone?
I mean, probably. I don't know.
Because you get review codes for most games, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe maybe Bethesda. We'll see with Starfield. If they send me a copy for that, then they haven't. But they sent me like this Fallout 76 helmet. And I by that point I'd already like
hold on, you'd already right, okay. So
it's like maybe I'm just one that fell by the wayside in terms of, or maybe they took the criticism in stride. I don't know. EA, I don't know if they've blacklisted me or not. Honestly, like straight up, I don't know. Though.
Did you get a Battlefield 2042 code?
No,
okay,
I didn't. But I wasn't necessarily
blacklisted.
Going hard on pursuing it.
Okay,
like I wasn't super keen on reviewing that game. I was like, I'll just check it out on day one when it's actually out, and instead of them making the excuse of like, oh, it's a few days early, so we have this new build or whatever, and I just wanted to see the game on day one. So will
you have a Saints Row review out? Can you say that? I'm trying to remember the embargo, if you're allowed to say.
I don't think I've been contacted about that one. And the thing is, like, my channel its focus isn't reviews. Like, I do reviews every once in a while for games that I'm like, okay, this is one that I definitely I hope to talk about. But I'm not like reviewing every single game. I just don't have the time for it with the daily news that I have to do on top of voice acting now. So it's like I got to pick the games that I want to review very carefully to allow myself the time to still have a life while picking stuff that I'm like genuinely interested in covering.
Yeah, that's why I got to give Ralph Skill Up some props, because he pretty much covers most games. And you think, how does he find the time sometimes?
Yeah, he does have he has this really great editor, which helps with the workload.
Yeah,
certainly.
Austin.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, maybe one day I'll get an editor for reviews, because the editing of the reviews takes up way more time than the editing of the news videos. So maybe if I found an editor, I could output reviews more often. I can just focus on the audio, recording the audio and then letting the editor really fancy it all up with the video editing.
So will you do a review for God of War Ragnarok? Because I know that's a tricky
Absolutely.
one. Because I remember Alana Pierce, she was in Cyberpunk and she said she wouldn't do a review because she's in it. But you're saying you will do one because you're in it. You don't mind?
Here's the thing, like it depends, because like if I played like the protagonist of a major AAA game, I'd be way too biased at that point. You know what I mean? Like I'd be too invested in that project. With God of War Ragnarok, it's like, yes, I'm in the game, but it was like I played this enemy, you know, one of the enemy units that you can kill over and over again.
Role.
Yeah. I don't know, they gave me some background about that specific enemy type, and you know, I glimpsed certain scenarios, but like that didn't say much of anything about the game. So I'm like, I literally, voice actors don't get told shit about the games that they are part of, unless their lines are relevant to those scenes. You know what I mean? And with me, it's like I need to do a bunch of efforts. You know, like a lot of grunting and screaming, and like or dying or whatever.
You know, I'm gonna make. By the way, sorry to cut you off. I am gonna make a YongYea compilation where it's just you dying in God of War. I'm gonna make that. Okay, sorry,
I'm sure
brother.
You're not the only one with that idea. Yeah, for sure.
But it's out of respect, just so you know.
Of course.
All right.
Fair enough. But yeah, with that game, I don't feel like attached enough as an actor to it, where I feel like I'd be very biased about that one. But I don't know. Maybe if there's like discourse surrounding whether even if there's that level of separation between you as an actor and the game, even then it's still not quite right to review the game. Maybe if there's like a dissent against that, maybe I'll be like, all right, I didn't know people felt that way.
Yeah.
But overall, with God of War Ragnarok, I recorded that a while back now. Okay. And again, it's not a major character, so I feel detached from it enough where I don't feel like my bias. I'm still going to be able to like say, here's what I like and here's what I don't like. You know? Without just being like, buy this game because I'm in it, because that's not at all what I want. Criticize this game and compliment it as it deserves to be to everyone, regardless of whether I'm in it or whether, you know, whichever actor's in it. Just like, be honest. You know, that I want to be honest as well with my coverage of this game, but you know, depends on what people say about that. If people are like that sounds wrong, then I'm like, all right, fair enough. Then I won't review it. I'm fine with that.
I can't wait for the game, man. That first one was just so good.
Masterpiece.
I mean, I remember that scene with Kratos and the Blades of Chaos. You know, that scene.
Oh, dude.
I mean, that's got to be one of the most epic scenes in a game I think I've ever seen. You know.
And then beyond that, the game just gets the smaller moments right too. I love the moment when Atreus and Kratos share a drink for the, you know, I don't know if you recall that, and where they drink and go, you know, and Atreus takes the drink. He goes, and they have this like little moment of like father and son, and it was
very
like so
subtle, but I agree.
and wholesome. And it's like little moments like that, like really like got emotions out of me, as much as those big set pieces or those big moments like the Blades of Chaos. The game's just like so good at managing drama, you know. And
how good is Christopher
on top
Judge?
Of great gameplay.
He's a great actor. I tell you what.
The vocal quality of his voice just spectacular, but then the performance, the vulnerability he adds to Kratos, it's just on another level. I love this series to death, and I can't wait to see how it concludes. I thought it was gonna be a trilogy, but
concludes. That's the only thing with me. It's like, wow, okay, concludes, and then I guess they're gonna go off to the other three realms or whatever you call it that they sneak peeked.
You know, I'm curious as to whether Kratos will be in, you know what I mean? Like, will Kratos' saga end with this one, and then maybe Atreus will carry forth to a new realm? Or will Kratos actually live through this whole fiasco and move on to, I don't know, Egypt or, you know, Japanese mythology, whatever the next venture might be?
Yeah.
I don't know. I won't. And again, voice actors don't get told shit. I genuinely have no idea. This is not me hinting at anything. I don't know.
Yeah, because I get a lot of that when I interview these actors. Articles will come out the next day, you know.
Yeah, right.
Oh man,
Young confirms Kratos dies.
Oh man, no, I can't wait for that. It's going to be good. So, voice acting, because I know a lot of your voice work's been in like anime and stuff like that, right? Not so much games. I know you did Lost Judgment.
No, a little bit of everything.
Okay,
really. Yeah,
you did Lost Judgment. That was great. Was it Lost Judgment? Yep.
It was the DLC Lost Judgment, the Kaito Files. Yeah, I played one of the characters in that. Yeah,
And what other
Yasutaka Shirakawa.
What other video game work will the audience maybe know you from?
Let me go to my
You
website.
gotta go to your own TV now, man. Now I know you're big time. Hey, you can't even remember.
So
that's brilliant.
No, I remember a lot of them, but I feel like every once in a while, one or two slip through. Obviously, the Berserker Stag and God of War Ragnarok. I played. If you're into like Agatha Christie games, there's one that came out called Hercule Poirot, or I butcher that pronunciation, Hercule Poirot. And I play Ernesto da Silva, or Ernesto da Silva, pronounced correctly. I play, let's see, Yasutaka Shirakawa in Lost Judgment. If you have played Paladins, I play the hero Vatu, who came out in 2021.
Nice.
I play this character Teddy in an indie game called The Darkest Tales, which is like this twisted version of things like Little Red Riding Hood, and it's like almost like a serial killer version of that, where you have to like go through this nightmarish version of these fairy tales, but as this like teddy bear who's been abandoned by the owner, who's experiencing these nightmares, and the teddy bear is begrudgingly like gonna go in her nightmares and save her from the nightmare and stuff like that. It's really interesting.
Wow.
And that was fun. And he's like this gruff guy, and it's like, I don't give a shit anymore. You know, he's got that like, I'm done with life. But then this little fairy's like, come on, dude, let's go. We gotta save her. You know, and I'm like, fine, let's go. You know, so it was an interesting vibe, fun vibe to play that.
Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact. That's right. I
Nice.
played. Let's see. Control F. Genshin. There it is. Jing Ming. He during the Lantern Ride Festival, I played a character who like introduces you to that event. And so like everyone who partook in that event had to like talk to me at some point, which was kind of cool. And so like you probably got to hear
a lot
me.
of players in that.
Yeah.
Big fan
Yeah,
base.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Bulletville is this like hero shooter from an indie development studio, and I play Buff the Justice, who's this West European, I think like Russian inspired, but I'm keeping the accent like vaguish. I don't know. Monroe Val Buren in Dark Deity, which is this Fire Emblem inspired indie title. So I've been in a number of indie titles as well, and I want to do more indie games because they're some of the most interesting in my opinion.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah,
man.
and then Blind Fate, Edo no Yami, which is this interesting game where you play as this like cybernetic samurai, but he's blind, and the only way he can see is by finding memory chips that fill out the world.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Based on based on what that memory chip has. So sometimes like the memory chip thinks there's a floor there, but that's not what's really happening now in the present day, and so you might fall through.
That's cool
because you perceive just based off of the memory chip that the floor should be there, but it's now somehow it's been destroyed.
And that's out now.
I think that's still in development.
Okay.
I don't think that's out yet.
Okay.
And Madeline Cookie and Cookie Run Kingdom, which is a like relatively popular and kind of like adorable mobile game.
Speaking of
like
Cyberpunk, I think Jeremy Lee's in that one, eh? Is she?
Who?
Jeremy Lee? Is she in that? From Cyberpunk?
Oh.
Female V? Yeah.
Is that her name? I actually don't remember V's actor's name.
I feel like she's in it, yeah. I feel like she might be in it. I could be wrong. I know Yuri Lowenthal's in it.
Yeah. Yuri Lowenthal. Yeah, but I did do also a performance capture for a AAA video game that I'm not allowed to say what it's for yet.
Whoa, Yong. When's it coming out, brother? Can you tell us?
If I say anything, it would probably hint at what it might be. So
Okay.
I'm gonna zip it for now.
In the next year,
once,
in the next year or two?
I can't say. I really can't say. All I know is that once I do get to announce it, it's gonna be really cool. I can't wait to talk about this one.
And
it was like a smaller role.
Smaller role, yep. But it's a big game. Yep.
Yes, and like the people I got to work with and stuff like that. It was one of the best days of my life. Straight up, I loved that day.
That's amazing.
I felt like a kid in a candy store, finally like being in it. Like I've seen a lot of behind the scenes footage and stuff, and like being jealous. Like, oh man, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
To finally be able to do it, and like seeing how cool the whole process is. It was like I was like 5 years old again. It was awesome.
That sounds amazing, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So, how are you finding the voice acting world? Like, have you gotten over that imposter syndrome? Are you patting yourself on the back now? Like, I am a voice actor. I am good. I am good at this. That's why I'm
most
getting
days, yes. Most days, yes. Every once in a while, your brain just gets in a more depressive state where it starts telling you bullshit. You know what I mean?
Don't believe
starts
it.
saying like you're not good enough and like, oh, you're never gonna achieve like this level. But like that's simmering down more and more.
Yeah.
You know, the casting directors are being receptive to my auditions. You know, my agency, you know, they've been telling me that
You got a great agency, man. Now,
yeah, SBV. I mean, God, like Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham and
Insane,
Ray
man.
Chase, like all these amazing talents are in. That's like I feel very fortunate to be a part of that incredible group, and like my agents have been really good to me and sending me some great auditions, and so just really proud to be a part of that team. But you know, I've been able to get some really cool roles in the span of like 2.5 years since I've been doing this professionally now. So
yeah,
I feel like at that point I have to start acknowledging that like, yeah, I'm good at what I do. And you have to bring that confidence to your sessions. You can't be self-doubting yourself when you're playing a character because that might seep through. And so you got to like on some level not get cocky and be like, I've peaked and I'm better than everyone.
No,
you know,
but you need some sort of confidence, don't you? You need to be confident.
Like a healthy dose of ego. You know what I mean? A healthy dose, not too much, but just enough to be like, fuck yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna fucking own this. I'm excited about this and I'm good at this and I'm gonna show them what I got. And yeah, but mostly it's about the excitement of diving into a character. To me, that's to fill somebody else's shoes and try to get into the mindset of somebody else and then like emote through them and then have that affect people a certain way. Like that whole process to me is fascinating and invigorating. Because even with villains, you have to find some aspect to them that you can latch on to, that you can understand at least. To be like, what I would never do the things that you do, but I understand from your perspective why you're doing these things. And like having that understanding, just like even with like Thanos from Marvel's Avengers, or not Marvel's Avengers, the MCU, it's like they gave him a bit of humanity by like actually having him care about his daughters, even though he's overall just a fucked up being, right? And so like there's some human connecting thread there.
So what was your connecting thread for in Jojo for Pucci?
So Pucci is a very interesting character. I think one of the more interesting main villains in Jojo because he believes that his motivations are good. He believes that he's saving humanity. And he, without spoiling it for, anime only watchers, we eventually do delve into his past a little bit. And he kind of had a messed up situation happen to him. And he wants to kind of end elements of like cruelty or people just like falling into despair. And he believes that this thing called heaven, whatever form that might take, and when you watch further, he believes that achieving that concept can save humanity. He is what manga fans especially will know this term. He is evil that doesn't know is evil, and that makes him extremely dangerous because he has a certain belief and faith and this devotion towards a cause that he believes needs to happen for the entire human race to thrive. And so he's the hero of his own story. His motivations are good in his eyes, but obviously, the ends don't always justify the means. But in his eyes, these ends are too important for the means to matter at all. And so I play it off as a character who like has undertones of that menacing, like I will fuck your day up. But underneath it all, it's like he also evokes vibes of like, my children, come, I will lead you to a path towards heaven. I will save you. And you can find comfort if you follow my path. But at the same time, he's not aware of his own ego. He's not aware of his own malice, and so
he's a leader.
There's all these things going on. So he's like a much more, I think, like Dio. He's just like a psycho, power hungry, like just God complex kind of character. And like that within itself is its own form of entertainment. But Pucci feels a bit more human than that, and a little more complex than that. And I'm not saying he's a better villain. I'm just saying like he's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
And I love playing these two conflicting sides of like he's this demonic entity wearing the clothes of a priest, And it's like that dichotomy is fascinating, and to play both aspects of like his sympathetic nature towards the human race versus his own selfishness and his own like the way he blindsides himself towards like how fucked up he is and how like he's not really, you know, I don't want to say much more, but yeah.
I love the story how when you were in the booth, you didn't realize that you were playing. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were playing one character, but you didn't know you were playing the other side of him.
Correct. I play. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And so when you play a Jojo character who has a stand, you play both the stand and the character. The stand being that the apparition, the thing that gives you your powers. It's like in Shaman King, you know, they essentially have stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like kind of like that. And
is it a bit like Yu-Gi-Oh, and then his alter ego a bit, or not?
No, it's a little different because it's more of like, imagine it's like that, but except if Yami Yugi was like more of like a demonic Pokemon.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like a spectral Pokemon.
Yep.
Who is like your sole companion. You don't get to catch all these Pokemon. There's like one specific Pokemon that chooses you. It's like that. And that Pokemon has unique powers that are different from all the other Pokemons. It's kind of like that, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. And yeah, so I for some reason it slipped my mind when I was cast for Whitesnake that, well, because he's Pucci Stan, I also play Pucci. And I think maybe subconsciously I didn't want to hope, you know, in case for some reason in this case they decided to voice them separately, because Whitesnake has a lot of lines. So maybe it's like they wanted a separation, a certain degree of separation. So I went into Whitesnake. My first sessions for Jojo were for Whitesnake. And so I went in there thinking, oh, this is so awesome. I get to perform the stand of a main villain.
Man,
I did it. I nailed it. All right. That is all I need.
How do you compose yourself in the booth there? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, fortunately, I found out towards the end of that session when, we finished up the Whitesnake stuff or the Pale Snake stuff. It's Pale Snake in English, Whitesnake in Japanese for licensing reasons. But I finished up the Whitesnake session, and then my director goes, all right, so next session, we're going to bring you in for, some Pucci. And then I was like, say that again? What did you just say right now? What do you mean Pucci? What are you talking about? No, I only play Pale Snake, right? And he's like, no, my sheet shows. No, that's right. It shows you're playing Pucci too. And I just, what are you talking about? And I had a freak out in front of the director, and then I like composed myself so we could end the session. I could leave them to,
what did the director say?
He was like, well, that's nice. We, because we don't get to announce to actors that they got X, Y, and Z parts. He goes, well, that's cool to see, like, actually see the reaction of somebody getting the role live.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I literally could not believe it. I thought there was no way I was going to get a JoJo main villain. Like that's not something many people can say they've been able to play, No. It's a very select few people in the world who can say I play a JoJo main villain. So I'm very humbled by the opportunity, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And I can't wait for the new batch of episodes to come out on September 1st.
Do you listen to the Japanese version as well?
That's how it works when you're recording for anime. They preview the Japanese version.
So you got to mouth it at the right time? Yeah.
Yes, that too. The timing has to be exact. And then sometimes the audio engineers can like stretch things a little bit or compress things a little bit to match it up more. But generally, like if you're too far off, if you're a couple frames off, then you have to like do another take a little faster, a little slower. So like anime dubbing doesn't get the credit that it does.
No.
Like especially now having done it, it's like I understand that the limitations with which you have to work with and still be a good actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's rewarding, and you get to play characters in any other medium. Like anime has some of the craziest stories and characters, but some of the most fascinating ones. And JoJo especially is way out there. It's bizarre. All right.
My favorite is probably Death Note.
Oh, dude, that's like my favorite too.
Is it? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
100%.
I just love, man. I can watch that.
The cat and mouse game, the tension, the way they utilize the mechanics of the Death Note to like play each other. It's like, it's amazing.
It's just so good.
It's but let's not ever talk about the Netflix live action adaptation.
No.
Willem Dafoe was the only good part about that. He was perfectly cast, but everything else is just so it did not get Death Note at all. It does not understand the source material at all.
No, not at all. And have you ever seen Death Parade?
No,
Yeah,
I
recommend
definitely heard of that one.
I recommend that one, man. Yeah, definitely.
Parade.
Death Parade. I know I keep mentioning death for some reason, but no, Death Parade. Definitely recommend.
I saw a couple of episodes of this with my brother who was watching it back when I was still in Delaware. I haven't finished it though, but I do remember like enjoying it for the few episodes that I did see.
Yeah.
So I'll check it out.
And obviously DBZ and Yu-Gi-Oh and all, but yeah.
Oh, of course.
But I do need to watch JoJo. I need to watch now that
JoJo's fun. Have you not seen any of the parts yet? Are you just completely
new? Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Part 1 is like kind of tame for the most part. It's not as bizarre as you think it, as the name suggests, but then like part 2 gets weird and then part 3 gets insane. Part 4, I mean, every part just ups the ante of like, this is the weirdest show ever, but I love it.
I love anime. I love anime. I still, sadly, I still haven't seen Attack on Titan. So there's a few I'm really missing. Yeah.
You know what though? They're just about to wrap Attack on Titan, so you'll have the opportunity to just like binge it from one end to the other just at the right time. So you know what? It's never there's never a too late to come into Attack on Titan.
And I'll give you a couple more, Yong, because I know you got to go. But I did see someone here say, "What were your thoughts on the Lord of the Rings show for Amazon?"
Oh, I still haven't watched it.
It's not out yet. But are you excited? Are you optimistic? What's your opinion?
I know I'm not like a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I like it. I've seen the movies and I've seen the Hobbit films, and especially the original trilogy, I really came to appreciate them.
Yep.
So I'm not super in tune with the lore and like, oh, this doesn't match this and that. Just looking at it, just from like someone who's familiar with Lord of the Rings, but not like a hardcore fan. It looks all right. Like the production value looks cool. The fact that oh my god, why am I forgetting his last name? McCreary, there we go.
From God of War.
The composer of God of War and Battlestar Galactica is doing the music for this. That alone makes me excited to just like at the very least tune in auditorily because he makes some of the best music ever. I love him as a composer. But in terms of like the vibes that it gives off, it looks like Lord of the Rings. It seems they really seem to be upping the ante in terms of production value. This feels like they're trying to like reach Game of Thrones level of success and stuff like that, or the first couple of seasons. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not super invested in it, but I'm also like intrigued by it, and that's really all I have to say on that front. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know, man. I know the budget's so high that it's like, how are they going to sort of fulfill this budget? They're never like, the budget's like record breaking, the amount of money they spent on each episode. I'm going to go in optimistic and hopefully it's good. I'm not going to go in like, I'm going to hate this because this and that. Because I've seen a lot of vitriol online about it, and
that's the thing. I'm wondering. I don't know where that comes from. All I know is like I'm fairly neutral about it. I don't feel any strongly any one way or another. I'm just like, I think I do want to watch it though. It's Lord of the Rings. It's epic. It's this well-known fantasy saga. So like, I'm definitely gonna check it out. But I'm not feeling optimistic or pessimistic. It's just more like
I think
I want to watch it.
People are annoyed about the how they say the wokeness of it all.
I don't know what aspect of the trailer.
No, I don't know.
Show that.
I haven't been following it like you too closely, so I'll just watch it when it's out, like most things. And
I know people were criticizing Sauron's appearance, where they're like he looks like Eminem instead of the gorgeous visage that Sauron should actually have based on the descriptions from the books and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I don't know enough about Sauron's backstory for me to again have an opinion one way or another. People did show like screenshots of the Shadow of Mordor series. They're like, this is how Sauron should look. This game got it right. And so I've seen some criticisms about that, but again, I'm not super invested in stuff like that.
Yeah,
personally.
So I'll give you one more, Yong.
Sure.
If you could pick a character to play in a game, like dream role sort of stuff, because I feel like you'd be a good Wolverine, personally.
Man, that is certainly up there. Maybe one day. Wolverine. I mean, Batman. I'd love to give that a go someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman is probably my favorite superhero. But
same here.
Yeah, but I have to find, because performing stoic is, I think, one of the most underrated things. Because Batman, when he's Batman, he's just sort of down here, and it's like, but it's like you got to find just enough. You can't be so flat that it's boring, but you can't be so high energy that you lose that tough stoicness. And you still have to find little nuances here to give him a certain personality while still maintaining that stoicness. And Kevin Conroy is, just the master of Batman. Obviously, he's who you think of when you think of Batman. But I would love to bring my own interpretation to that character someday. I hope to, I don't know, be in a Persona game, like be one of the major characters in a Persona game or in a Final Fantasy game one day. Oh God, I hope to be in a Naughty Dog game. I want performance capture is my favorite. Like once I experience it, I'm like, I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
And so
everyone says that. That's an
exactly. Yeah. And so if I want to be a part of a story that's like as emotionally impactful as Last of Us was to me, I want to be a character like Joel. Not necessarily Joel, just like somebody, whether it's a new IP or an existing IP that takes place somewhere else or whatever. I want to play a character who really has to push himself emotionally, who really has to go through some really tough times and to journey through that as a human being and to sympathize with that and see like what kinds of performances that yields from me. I want to like push myself on an emotional level and see what I can do with that. So one day I hope to be able to play a role like Joel, because Last of Us part 1 or Last of Us 1, whatever you want to call it, that was the game that made me go, I want to do that. I want to do voice acting.
Yeah, wow.
Troy Baker's performance was what made me go.
Have you ever had a chance to tell him that?
Not directly. I don't know if like he knows me or has. I've said this before in a few other like interviews and podcasts and stuff, but I've never had the chance to like tell him directly that he was a huge inspiration for my decision to be like, I like what Troy Baker went through here. I hope to go through that as well and with one of my characters one day. Really fleshed out emotional journey and one that tells a really powerful story. Though I don't know, maybe I did make a video about him because he put out that NFT thing. If he's seen that, maybe he doesn't like me anymore. I mean, look, that was one aspect of him that I criticized because I
think he's apologized. I think he knows.
Yeah, he did. That's the thing. Yeah. I will acknowledge, like, he came on to the Alana P. What's the podcast called? Play, Watch, and Listen. Yeah. He came on and he was like, you know what? I admit I was ignorant about all this, and like they had a really great conversation, and Troy Baker was really open-minded, and that's like the most important thing. And I think I do appreciate that he did keep an open mind and did listen to feedback and like actually learned and like made decisions with that. So like that's really the mark of someone who isn't stubborn and is willing to learn, to like accept that maybe I did mess up, So who knows? Kudos there, but even with my NFC criticisms and whatever, there's no denying that his talent is I mean, he's one of the top tier voice actors of all times, and I deeply admire his talent. He greatly inspired me to pursue voice acting. That's not going to change, regardless of NFT bullshit, it's like, I still am glad that I got to live in an era where his performances are able to shine and inspire others. So that's cool.
I think I'm talking to him for Last of Us Part 1 Remake. So I might have to mention you and see what he says.
I mean, you don't have to.
Well, I might just say like people,
Sure.
I might not directly say it, but like people have said that your performance has gotten them into it. How do you feel?
Sure.
But
I mean,
I guess
your interview. It's up to you, but you don't feel.
No.
I'm not trying to.
No. I know.
Yeah.
I Are you playing that game, by the way? Can you say? Because I feel like I've seen reviewers have it in their hands. I don't have it personally, but a few of my friends have it, so I'm guessing you have it, but probably can't say, so it's all right.
Yeah.
You're excited.
For my part, I haven't signed anything, so I'm still waiting for my copy.
Okay.
Yeah, I did reach out and they said that they'll get back to me, but I don't know if they will on time or whatever. But either way, I'm gonna play it. I'll play it on launch day or before launch day.
Yeah. Nice.
I did get to play Marvel Spider-Man on PC before that came out.
Yeah.
Which it plays super well. But Last of Us Part 1, I don't know if they're keeping a tighter circle for that, given, the sort of the mixed reactions to it or something. I don't know. But either way, I do want to play it. I love that game. I love Last of Us 1. So to see it in with enhanced graphics and all these things, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Obviously, the price point is going to be a point of contention for a lot of people. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
I think it's as much as people criticize it, I think it is a smart business move, really, especially with the show coming out.
Yeah.
But we'll see how well it does. But thank you, Yong, for coming on today, man. I really appreciate it. You've taken up nearly 2 hours of your time, so we really appreciate it. And is there anything you want to plug that you've got coming up?
Let's see. Well, if you enjoy Jojo, September 1st, the second batch of 12 episodes comes out. Definitely lots of Pucci to see in there. And yeah, just stay tuned on youtube.com/YongYea for more gaming news and reviews. And if you want to just just on Twitter, on twitter.com/YongYea, if you want just like random hot takes or just random tweets or whatever, random posts that are outside of my usual content creation stuff, follow me there at YongYea. And then YongYeaVO.com if you're interested in any of my voiceover stuff. If you want to hire me for something, I don't know. My reels are there, my resume is there, so I don't know.
Hire this man, please.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me, man.
Man, thank you so much. And Lord Chancho here says 2 of my favorite YouTubers together at last.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Hell yeah, man. No, take care, man. And before we go, I need that famous outro to take us out. Come on, man.
Well, I guess with that, I will see you guys next time. Yong out.
Take care, man. Thank you, brother. Have a good day.
Take care. Later.
The greatest interviewer of all time. Dan Allen Gaming. If there's one podcast you want to hear this year, it's Dan Allen Gaming.
Dan, we've got a job to do.
Mr. Allen, I've been waiting for you, Mr. Dan Allen. Anyone has heard of the likes of you, especially your YouTube channel. It's amazingly entertaining. Good job.
This is Geralt of Rivia, and you're watching Dan Allen Gaming. Yeah.
This is Agent 47. Subscribe to Dan Allen Gaming. He's a great guy.
I always knew we were destined for something great to happen. A lot of people want to change their cards, not me. I like the hand we've been dealt.
I'm gonna come find you, little man thing.
Dan, I knew you'd love me. Come on now, just a little taste.
Dan Allen Gaming. He's a lovely boy.
Super Dan, you number one. Woohoo!
This is Colt calling out to Dan the Animal Allen. I'm gonna break this fucking loop, or I'm gonna break your neck.
You're watching Dan Allen Gaming, and you're going to regret it.
Dan, you and I are gonna take back the universe for humanity.
We're having a problem with Metal Gear, and I need your help. So contact me by codec, damn it!
Dan Allen, you and I going dark now.
Are you being cheeky, Dan?
I'd like to keep this for close encounters.
Tune into Dan Allen Gaming, or else I'm coming after you. You're fucking down.
I've been interviewed by Dan Allen of Dan Allen Gaming. Not to be mistaken for Van Allen. You know the belts? No, not the same guy. Not even related. Okay, Jackie out.
All the best to you. Just don't cross me.
Dan Allen Gaming, you have got to be one of the best things to come out of Australia. Did you know that? You and me, we would have been unstoppable. Anyways, outlaws for life, partner.
Your face, your ass, what's the difference?
It's okay, Dan. I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
But you shouldn't have done that. It fucking hurts!
Let's find out if Dan Allen Gaming really is the best fucking show in town.
Damn! You eat babies! Everybody knows that!